Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we're going to be playing in the F&M at Home Artisan event, which is basically commons and uncommons only in the new standard format. So, going to be shaking things up a little bit, hopefully, in that format, even though it was actually pretty decent and balanced for the most part, I would say. Today we're going to be playing a deck that we have played quite recently, however, of course, we haven't played it in a Artisan format style, and that's going to be blue black mill. It was actually originally going to be mono blue mill, and the reason I was running this is obviously because Ruin Crab has entered the format from Zendikar Rising, a 1-mana 0/3 with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent mills 3 cards, so your land drops become mill spells. It's a really horrendously solid card for your opponent to suffer over as it drops their entire deck and flips it upside down. And the reason why I ended up going blue-black is mostly because you want to be leveraging your land drops with Ruin Crab, and specifically things like Evolving Wilds, which can come down as a land to mill 3 with Ruin Crab, and then you can sack it to put a land from your library onto the battlefield tapped, essentially. So you get double triggers with your Ruin Crabs. And, you know, once I realized that, you know, I should be running Evolving Wilds, then figured I might as well splash. So we're actually splashing Drown in the Loch and Bloodchief's Thirst here. Bloodchief's Thirst, an uncommon with a kicker, destroys a creature or planeswalker at sorcery speed with converted mana cost 2 or less. However, if it's kicked, you can destroy any creature or planeswalker. No planeswalkers in this format anymore, now that War of the Spark's out, but it's just absolutely solid creature removal anyway, so you should probably be running it. Same thing kind of goes for Drown in the Loch as well. Solid creature removal for this deck, since we have so many turn 1 plays that can enable this card immediately. Drown in the Loch counters or destroys a creature based off of the cards that are in your opponent's graveyard. We don't have to worry too much about escape cards like Uro if we're enabling their graveyard, so we can really just fill it up without much problem. We don't have to exile or anything like that. And yeah, we can go something like turn 1 Ruined Crab, turn 1 Venture Deeper, or turn 1 Overwhelmed Apprentice. Bare minimum, we're putting 2 cards in the yard, and then on our turn 2, we can counter their 2-drop, for example, or destroy their 2-drop. Either way, Drown in the Loch is almost always online by turn 2 if you have the mana to cast it, which we are a very lighter splash of black in this list, for sure, but we're only splashing for 7 lands, and we do have the 4 Evolving Wilds, of course, to go and fetch them up. It usually doesn't come up very often that you're color screwed, but, you know, you only need 1 black source. Once you got that, you're all good to go. Other than that, though, our alternative mill win cons are going to be Teferi's Tutelage here. Enters the battlefield, it draws and discards, and says whenever you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards. So the idea being, once we've got this down, we just want to draw as many cards as humanly possible, and we've got a few ways of doing that. We've got the 4 copies of Opt in the early game to scry 1 and draw a card to find the pieces that we need. We have Frantic Inventory, which draws a card for 2 mana and then draws additional cards based off of the number of Frantic Inventories in our graveyard. And then we also have Into the Story, which is a big heavy costed card. However, it costs 3 less, 4 mana total in the end, at instant speed to draw 4 cards as long as your opponent has 7 or more cards in their graveyard. So usually it's like something like your opponent's played a spell and you've got 2 Ruin Crab triggers. Into the Story is immediately online. By the time you get to turn 4, there should be very little doubt that this card is castable. I'm only doing it as a 2-of though, because you don't really want this to fill up your hand in the early game. If it is a 7-drop at that point, it's going to be completely useless to you, but it is a really nice draw for with the Teferi's Tutelage to refuel, get all of the removal we need perhaps, and also maybe grab some counters like Jwari's Disruption. Counters unless you pay 1, so a nice little sensor, but it's also a tap land as well if you need that in the early game. So it's a spell that also triggers Ruin Crab, which is awesome. And then we also have 3 copies of Didn't Say Please as well to counter a spell. Its controller mills 3 cards. Not too interested necessarily in the mill 3 on this one. So you might want to just have like a Neutralize, which has a cycle of 2 to draw a card. So that would trigger Teferi's Tutelage and mill 2 there as well. So it could actually be more correct to go for the Neutralize in all honesty. But our premium counterspell anyway is Drown in the Loch. So, you know, who knows? Either way, it's been doing me just fine anyway, as I've been playing today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's deck tech. It's going to be a nice short one, hopefully. And yeah, if you do enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get to it. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Okay then, let's have a look-see. We've got turn 1 Overwhelmed Apprentice into unfortunately a tap land, which means we can't hold up an Ardwari Disruption unless we scry a land, but I don't think that's necessarily too bad. Other than that though, this hand's okay. I'm going to give this one a shot. Best time to play a Disruption is on turn 2 anyway, so let's get that mill going, let's get that scry going. We do need to find a land, and land we have found. We're going to upset our scry either way, so just going to put that to the bottom. I don't think we want the second didn't say please this early on. Mothra's Great Cocoon, so probably... Well, actually, I don't know. There's a Marrowleaf Pixie in there. I was going to say it's just like strict mutate, but apparently not. When this creature mutates, it gets a +1/+1 counter. Okay, so it's probably not going to mutate, because we'll have the Disruption available here for a turn 2 play here. Otherwise, we've got the Frantic Inventory, which is also just fine. We can technically allow it to mutate once as well. So I do think we just take our Censor whenever we can. Almost hope for another land here, to be honest, so we can hold up and didn't say please. Got another Overwhelmed Apprentice, which is okay. We are going to ruin our scry if we don't go for the Evolving Wilds now, so let's go and do that. Let's play the Island. And the Apprentice, milling 2. Not the greatest start for us, of course, but we're kind of getting there. A Ruin Crab to mill 3. How many cards have they got in there? 5. Well, that'd take Into the Story into a good place. I think we just want the land drop for Ruin Crab, right? I think we're doing a decent enough mill this early on. Can afford to take something like that. Okay, Thornwood Falls. And there's Pollywog Symbiote. I mean, if you wanted to hold up and didn't say please here, which is not incorrect, you could have taken the land first so that we have like Ruin Crab with didn't say please open, but I don't feel like we're going to care too much once we start this mill train going, because if it is like the Starix version of the deck, then it's going to be drawing lots of cards anyway, and if we can just mill their entire deck off, then they won't want to mill they won't want to mutate too much with the Starix. The Marrowleaf Pixies are just really throwing me off, though. Never seen any list running that. Boneyard Lurker. Okay. They have a threat in play, and I have apprentices to block with, so not too bad. We'd love to see a Teferi's Tutelage here. I think another land is just fine, though. Yeah, they got the Reaching, Countering Mutator, which they can pull back now if they wanted to. Really got lots of options with the Boneyard Lurker. I've seen to that. Well, I say lots of options. It's a Pixie or a land or a Recluse. And I think for now, we could probably afford to take 5. Then again, if they've got the flying creatures, then I won't be able to block again, so I would be on less of a clock. I think I will probably take the 5 there. Well, I can turn that into a land drop for a Ruin Crab mill. Or I could go for Into the Story here. I think I might opt to hold up and didn't say please for a mill with an Into the Story. Not the most ideal position to be in. So our opponent is going to go for the 5. This one we will take. So if I can just use Into the Story on our opponent, then that'd be fantastic. I don't think they're holding counter magic, but the deck is not what I would expect it to be anyway. And there's the Auspicious Starix. We actually get a disruption here, which is solid. I'll take that. Draws and discards. It's not a May ability, so that can come back to kill them later down the line. Got a Swamp. Hit another Starix. This unfortunately doesn't leave us with the mana to get something like Drown in the Lock going, so we're going to pass with the Didn't Say Please. It could very well go wrong for us in the blink of an eye here if we're not careful. So I just need to make sure that their powerhouse mutate creatures just never see the light of day here. Again, I think I can afford to take this 5. And just go for an Into the Story. Or a Didn't Say Please. But now we'll be in the position to... Yeah, that's a definite counter right there. Trumpeting Gnar goes too wide for us. We can't allow that. And they definitely do have the Flying Mutate. For the Boneyard Lurker. Ooh, Evolving Wilds is not too bad there. It's a double Ruin Crab trigger. We're at 28 cards. Keep this one going. We're actually going to go with islands. We're primarily blue with a splash of black, so we've already got our splash here, I would say. And, well, to be honest, shields are already down. We could maybe get a Blood Chief's Thirst. It's a Drown in the Lock. So Blood Chief's Thirst is 2 or less, so we can get rid of the Polywog Symbiote, which is... It's a thing. It drops our guard and could lead our opponent to win this game, though, if we're not careful. But if we do get to untap, we have the Drown in the Lock with counter backup to kill the Boneyard Lurker, or whatever it ends up being at the end of this. So can they put 5 points onto the board here? That is an Auspicious Starix. Makes it a 7/7. And does go wide on the board here. 24 cards left is not where we'd want to be. Gonna go with another Starix. And yeah, we're just gonna have to block there. Alright. Tough spot. Really tough spot. We did not need an island there. We needed to catch a break. So I can counter and I can Drown in the Lock, which is a mill 3 and a kill on the Starix. Probably gonna have to counter the Starix and then Drown in the Lock the Starix. Yeah, to stop it from actually mutating. Hope those other 2 cards aren't follow-up mutates. 18 cards. I'm not totally against them actually using the Starix, though, to be honest. Since the further they get into their deck, the better it is. It's just, we're at 10 life now. We can't really afford a huge go-wide strategy from our opponent. Okay, so they are going to get in. And we want to destroy the Starix first, I believe. And then block the Essence Symbiote. This says whenever a creature you control mutates, so it has to resolve onto a creature. I'm wondering about flash creatures, to be honest. That is my concern. If that was the case, I would want to go on to a block on the Polywog Symbiote. It does force our opponent's hand here, though, which is pretty much what I wanted. That way I get to know where the blocks should go. We're actually going to counter this, though. Mill 3. Stop it from mutating. This is a 6 to mutate. And looks like they haven't got another Shore Shark, so we take 1. Our opponent should pass here, most likely. They're at 14 cards. Mothra's Great Cocoon is an awful draw for them, for sure. Got the land drop to mill 3. The Secret Keeper to mill 4. And I think the 0/4 should keep us in this game for just long enough on the blocks here to win the game. 6 cards left to go. Mutating takes cards off the top. We've got the Secret Keeper to block the Essence Symbiote. Or even chump block the Starix is probably where this one ends up going. They just hit a land. Fantastic. So 4 cards remaining. We actually get to chump and block here, which is nice. I thought it was when creature you control mutates. This Venture Deeper will definitely do it. Right there. I think a land drop would have also been good. It would have been a mill 3, left our opponent with 1 card, so they would have drawn it. And we have enough to survive here. Any mutating going on actually triggers the symbiote and makes them draw a card and lose the game, so I think pretty much any draw there would have won us the game on the spot, which is pretty sweet. Okay then, let's have a look-see. We're on the draw with double Evolving Wilds, so we can grab our blue source. We've got Teferi's Tutelage, bit of removal here as well. I think we keep this hand. It's very awkward though. But being able to defend ourselves and hopefully set up that Tutelage to get going with plenty of card draw to enable it could hopefully be pretty decent here. There's a Soul Mender. And we got ourselves a Drown in the lock. Okay, so we're going to crack the Evolving Wilds for a blue source here. That way we're set up for pretty much anything. We can get rid of the Soul Mender, though I don't think that's actually a problem at the moment. It's whatever gains any benefit off of that life gain that we've really got to concern ourselves with. Opponent's actual life total is irrelevant. So try not to care about a 1/1. So it looks like it's going to be the black-white life gain matters kind of deck. We got another Blood Chief's Thirst. So I think we want to actually kill the Alseid with 1 Blood Chief's Thirst and then opt to try and find another land. That way we don't have to tap out on turn 2 with an Evolving Wilds. Can't do anything with the Drown in the lock anyway, so let's make the most of that. They can sack in response. Gets the same job done. But they should probably do it because, you know, I have this blue mana open. I could have an unsummon here which would set them back, but it's only a little thing, and it's probably not going to matter. Which, you know, we know it doesn't. So here comes the 3rd land drop for our opponent. And they could see, yeah, Indulging Patrician is the card I was thinking of. Gains 3. Ooh, that's a nice card. If it gains 3, they basically Lightning Helix us. That's really good as well. Okay, so I think we are going to go with the Ruin Crab here. It's a tough one, to be honest, whether or not we should go with the Evolving Wilds. I think we should, because next turn we'll have to go with the Tutelage. There's Dire Tactics and a Kitty in there as well. Go grab another island, I think. I'm pretty sure we can't really afford to durdle. And Patrician on its own, I think is okay for now. Could Blood Chief's Thirst and then Drown in the lock with Ruin Crab plus land drop maybe next turn. I just don't know if the Soul Mender is worth killing since we can block it right now. And they're only gaining 2 life at this point. I believe Revitalize is still in the format, so there is that. And there's also a 1-mana white spell that's like modal to destroy enchantments, put counters on and gain life. Ooh, there's the life they needed. Alright, so that will trigger the Patrician. But we do have Ruin Crab plus Drown in the lock to take care of their actual engine piece. And again, these Soul Menders really just don't matter if they don't have any payoffs here, and that is an absolute god tier land right there. So we're going to go Ruin Crab, and we're going to get that double landfall trigger. Twice over. And then I think we will wait on the Drowning Lock just in case our opponent maybe does something I'm not expecting. Would we need double black? I'm going to be using Drowning Lock on Patrician almost certainly, so I'll only have one black card in my hand. Does Bloodchief's Thirst actually... Yeah, it does kick with black mana. Okay, so we do need the double black for that. Good job I double checked that. It's not just an extra 3 mana. Okay, I did see a big payoff card for our opponent in there. They do have the whenever you gain life, you lose life, but it's the Light Promise that I really spotted there. Whenever you gain life, you put that many counters on a creature. You can make a dirty, dirty Patrician at that point. I'm hoping our opponent actually goes for a Light of Promise on the Patrician. It would be absolutely solid to destroy it with a Drowning Lock. You can counter absolutely anything at this point. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. Can do that all day. And opponent's going in for combat. So they don't have a great deal to follow up with, except for maybe removal. I'm going to get rid of the Patrician right now. They stand to basically do nothing unless one of these 2 cards in their hand is actually good. And it's another payoff card for life gain matters. And it turns out it isn't. So we make our land drop, we mill for 6. Nice. We don't have the counter magic anymore, which is a little bit worrying. Our opponent does have Cleric of Life's Bond and the Hallowed Priest. You already know how well they combo together. I'm going to discard probably Frantic Inventory. And we'll just go for an opt with the Teferi's Tutelage, most likely. I think we've made our land drop already, so I think I'll just have to pretend that I've got a Drowning Lock. This is sorcery speed, so I can't just ping anything off as I please. That is worth pinging off, and we can do that just without the kicker as well, which is really nice. So our opponent can gain a lot of life here by swinging in and tapping down and doing all those shenanigans. I'm just going to mill another 2 cards. Get an Apprentice, which is a decent blocker. Actually, the perfect blocker for a beloved princess. Not going to double block it. Could have Death Touch and a +1/+0. I think that actually exists. But yeah, this looks like a pretty easy victory to me. Take care of their payoff card. And if they explode now, I wouldn't be surprised. We've got 20 cards left to go. We don't have that much left to do. Can opt, find an Evolving Wilds. That's the best draw. Jwari Disruption. I mean, it's a land drop, so I'm just going to play it. I can't imagine at this stage anything our opponent plays will matter. There goes another 6 cards. Ruin Crab, absolutely absurd. Mill 2, Scry 2. Set up the perfect victory condition. I mean, it's an option for sure. I think we could probably just do better though. And 6 cards. They're at 10. I mean, it does technically just get the job done, but we're in no rush of dying. We could probably find something that would win on the spot, like an Into the Story. Would win on the spot. I didn't say please. Would keep our opponent from being able to win the game, punishing them by actually playing the game. Frantic Inventory is a draw 2, mill 4 that sets up Ruin Crab as well. I don't think it really matters what you keep on top there. Yeah, Teferi's Tutelage. Puts them down to 7. Tutelage, draws and discards, mills 4. There's a Drowning Lock into the trash. There's just no hope for them at this point. Got 3 cards remaining. A land drop is a win, so we have no bad draws anymore. In fact, we win on our draw step because of the double Teferi's Tutelage. Assuming they had 1 enchantment removal, then we just need to be able to mill one card, which is really easy for this deck. Lifelink counter on the lifelink creature. Good stuff. It's the only non-human on the pile, so it's kind of forced. And Charm Stray, gonna do nothing here. 2 cards left. It's a land drop, that's a mill 6, but we've already got a mill 4 already set up on the stack. Just gonna hit that auto pass. Griffin Airy. Is that the first Griffin Airy? No, it's not actually. They've got a fair few in there. I was wondering where that card was. That could have relatively easily carried the game for them there if they got it down nice and early. We don't have too much to do when it comes to stopping our opponent making 2/2s on that, except for maybe just picking cards off with our removal spells. But yeah, managed to get it nice and easy. Okay, on the draw, we've got more black than blue mana, which is disturbing, but we do have the Overwhelmed Apprentice to set up some draws and eventually get towards the Teferi's Tutelage, counter magic at some point as well. We're going to give this one a shot. I think we've got some decent odds with this one. But yeah, not having double blue is very odd for this deck for sure, and less than ideal. We are very much skewed more into the blue. Extremely heavily, though, of course. We do have to run some basics to make sure we can actually cast our black spells naturally without having to scry and wilds for them and whatnot. So let's go with the Overwhelmed Apprentice and see that we're up against a black-white life gain deck by the looks of it. We do technically... No, we drew the other land, didn't we? So we don't technically need anything from here. I think we'll try for just a better card, even a Hedron Crab. Not a Hedron Crab, sorry, a Ruin Crab. Wrong type. Even that would be absolutely solid here. So yeah, it's a black-white life gain deck, and we got our Ruin Crab, so we're going to play it out. Start getting use out of those land drops while our opponent doesn't have Blood Chiefs online, and I guess we might as well ping our opponent. We're never going to win with combat damage. It's going to be pure mill from start to finish here. Let's see if they do have the Blood Chief's Thirst. They do. Okay. And a Jwari Disruption. So this is a tough one. Our opponent's hand is finally live, I'm assuming, with the Swamp. So it's tempting to hold up and counter magic here. I think we'll just let whatever comes first resolve. Hopefully it's not enchantment removal, and we'll go with the Teferi's Tutelage. I think we just have to get this online as soon as possible, to be honest. Let's dump the Frantic Inventory. It'll just fuel future inventories. And yeah, just get in for one. Call of the Death Dweller and Cleric of Lifespawn. So we are fueling a call. A call would be less than ideal here. Palaka Predation. Too late for that to be useful. They didn't say please. They know they have to play around Censor now. And that could set them back a fair bit by doing that, though. So we're just going to go with the Overwhelmed Apprentice here. Mill 2, scry and set up the Tutelage play for the next turn, perhaps. A Drown in the Lock is solid. Anything that gets by the Disruption here is just going to get picked off by that. And we don't need the Evolving Wilds because we don't have any Ruin Crabs, so I'll take that card. It's not the best card in the world, but let's get our opponent pinged. I don't think their life total does particularly matter. I don't think they'll have any of those kind of cards. It's just kind of the gain of their life that really matters here. And there's the Call of the Death Dweller. It's going to make it 5/5 that we can kill with the Drown in the Lock. And the 2/2 entering to gain some life there as well. I think I'm just going to keep this Disruption in hand. I think it's actually just good as a card our opponent knows about at all times. Death Touch and Menace for our opponent there on their dead cleric. Future dead cleric, I guess. Yeah, just knowing they're 1 mana down at all times and they have to play around that with their sequencing is pretty important for us here. think we'll just go with Venture Deeper. See if we can continue to hit some good stuff. Yeah, I think we're just passing here. Gonna need more removal for the cleric. 39 cards down. Almost halfway. Really appreciating the color screw from our opponent as well. Attended Healer. Whenever you gain life for the first time, create a 1/1. Ooh, I don't know if I can allow that, but I can't really stop it either. I kind of have to. No life gain for you. We take 8. This is going to be really down to the wire. Gonna need some good draws here, and that is not a good draw at all. Yeah, that one's almost guaranteed as death. Opponent knows our entire hand. Knows that all they have to do is pretend they have one less mana than they actually do. I'm most likely just going to use this at this point just to make them tap out so they can't make a 2-card play. It's like it's just another Call of the Death Dweller, though. They don't need not more than one swamp. Yeah, so they could play like a 2-mana cleric here. It's not really going to matter. They've got another 5/5. I'm just going to make them play it out, though. Pay that one. So what do we need? Into the Story is looking pretty good. Into the Blood Chief's Thirst to take care of a 5/5, perhaps. I think it's just too little too late, though, honestly. I think the fact that we fueled their graveyard is really going to kill us here. 36 cards, we're just too far away for that, considering the beating we're about to take here. So I have to do a double block just to stop hemorrhaging some life. And we're dead in the air, dead on the ground. It's nothing. There's no hope, really. There's a Blood Chief's Thirst. That is not good enough. We needed some draw into that spell, I think, but even then, not good enough, so move on to the next game. Okay then, on the draw, we've got the Ruin Crab into turn 2 Disruption with card draw backup. We've got to keep a hand like this, I think. It's fully castable. It's got that early game pressure play. The only problem is, our opponent also has the early game pressure play here. Got to worry about the Spike Field Trap, so I won't be blocking here. I'm going to try and take as much damage and hopefully run them out of land drops sooner rather than later. The actual 0/4 there is pretty decent, actually. Does it claim the Firstborn? God, I hate that card. Scavenge Blade as well. Opponent's deck is quite wild. Yeah, I think I'm just going to hold up in the Disruption. If it doesn't look like it's going to pan out for me, we'll go for maybe a Frantic Inventory here. Opponent's got the Shock. They'll go for the Trap, and I'll Disrupt. Double Shock. That's also fine. Keep that Ruin Crab around. Again, it's going to be a decent blocker. We've just absorbed 4 points of damage with it. Eventually down the line, could be absorbing a little bit more. I think they've got that Spike Field Trap or whatever it's called. Blood Chief's Thirst is a decent card if we can just find the black mana for it. Really hate to be digging for swamps while I've got islands in hand. I might just go for the... yeah, I might take that, actually. This seems fine. Let's mill 3. Let's play the Apprentice. I can chump with an Apprentice quite happily. Let's mill 2 and scry. Frantic Inventory. They're okay. They're pretty decent draws, to be honest. The main issue I see here is just not having that black mana. Let's mill them for another 4. Get a 0/4, that'll slow down their Akum Hellhound quite substantially. It looks like it's just kind of mono red, to be honest, so... Still haven't seen the traps, but I know they're in there. There's no way our opponent's not running a card like that. It's just too easy to add it to the deck. Opponent's got the 2/3. I'll take it for now. There's no Ember Cleaves to worry about, so no out-of-nowhere kind of mass damage. I'm just going to go for a full Slaying Fire on the crab. That's what we were digging for. So, we're not really milling our opponent in the same way before, as we were before, sorry. I think I'm just going to pass, actually, and feign counter magic. 37. Cards to go. Secret Keeper. Easy to block here. If I eat more burn, so be it. I think our opponent's testing us because we didn't actually block with the Ruin Crab. Mostly because we just valued the Ruin Crab more than our opponent maybe knew. There's a Ruin Crab. Okay, so play down another one. Play down the Swamp. Honestly, not bothered about the Hellhound at this stage. Can't say I'm really bothered about even doing any damage to our opponent. It's just not realistic to deal 20 damage to our opponent with this deck. So I'd rather just keep it back as a blocker. Testing me again. I think they're going to constantly test me in that way. From now until the end of the game. Let's make our land drop. And getting into the story without a tutelage in play is... It's not a great feeling, but it's not too bad either. So this only takes care of 2 drops, so Anax is kind of... It's going to sit around for a little while. I think that's okay, though. Yeah, I don't have to worry about Anax just yet. We're at 14, they're halfway through their deck. They're basically at 10 as far as their deck size is concerned. And now this is a weird one. So we can take this block here, and we could absorb 2 points of damage if we thought that they didn't have anything in hand. I think our Ruin Crab is not worth taking that potential bluff. I think I'd rather take 2 damage there. Let's go tutelage. Draw and discard. Alright, spare Bloodchief's Thirst. With didn't say please back up. Says time for Hellhound to die here and take a little bit of the pressure off. It's only going to make a 1/1 and the Apprentice can block that. Actually quite nicely. Devotion off of Anax as well, so less likely to get through our 0/4. Let's pass the turn. Our opponent's at 23 cards. 7 mana for them. It's pretty hefty flood. Haven't seen any of them spike traps yet. And if they're not running spike traps, I do not feel bad for them for flooding out there. They really do want that 1 damage exile spell that is also a tap land. There's just... It goes too well with the Akum Hellhound to really justify not doing it. So, good stuff. Okay then, let's have a look-see. On the play, we don't have a crab, unfortunately. That would make this hand absolutely super awesome, but we do have turn 1 Secret Keeper into turn 2 Drown in the Lock with counter and removal activations on essentially everything until the end of time, so pretty good, pretty good. I guess we could also go with the Overwhelmed Apprentice, though, since it does give us that Scry 2 ability. But we don't really know what we want, necessarily. I guess there's like some guaranteed cards that we don't want to see, but I feel like I'd rather not draw like things like Bloodchief's Thirst against a deck that I probably don't need to play against. And it looks like we're up against, well, something blue-black. Could be Mill as well, could be Control. I'm going to leave open the Drown in the Lock for any one of them, to be honest. And there's the Evolving Wilds. Okay, so we're just going to play that out, and we're just going to keep hold of this Drown in the Loch. We can counter everything that our opponent ever plays, and I'm sure that we can wait until turn 5 with the tutelage if it does end up being blue-black control, which I suspect... Ooh, it's not. Alright, get countered. This is going to be an interesting matchup for sure. Opponent just pulled the trigger on that one. I think they realised they're gonna get tutelage themselves. I would have probably waited to see me turbo slam that, but opponent disagrees. Yeah, pretty much probably a similar list. It looks like it's a little bit more heavily on the black side of things for removal. I haven't felt the need, to be honest, to add more than Drown in the Loch and Bloodchief's Thirst, though, to be honest. But you can have like Pestilent Haze, which gives like -2/-2 and does something else. Can't remember what it does. I think it kills Planeswalkers, which is, yeah, it's relevant. But yeah, good stuff. Okay, let's have a look. See, we have 3 mana. We can not really lead off with any mill to enable an early Drown in the Loch, honestly, but could do the Disruption tapped into the Apprentice plus Evolving Wilds, and then we've got the turn 3 tutelage online. It's not very interactive with our opponent, though, and that's kind of a concern. Yeah, it's going to be maybe quite iffy on this one, I would say. Wildwood Tracker. We just drew another opt. Okay, well, let's go with the Evolving Wilds, crack it for an island, and let's just drop down the Apprentice. It looks like a mono-green stompy kind of list. I think we can afford to take Ruin Crab. Don't necessarily need the Swamp, though. Yeah, we'll take that. Okay, a little bit of adventure synergy in here as well. This is going to be a 2/2 just attacking on its own, and Flaxen Intruder, big problem for our deck, actually. Read your card. You can do it. You can do it. Oh no, this is a human. Never mind. You can't do it. Fail. Give up now. Okay, well, if that's the case, let's go with Ruin Crab. I don't really want to Drown in the Loch the Flaxen Intruder. I'd rather use something like Bloodchief's Thirst if we can find it. But we'll see what we've got available to us. We can counter anything our opponent plays here if we want to. Nessian Hornbeetle. I don't want to. We do have the Wildwood Tracker attack now, but we have the Ruin Crab, so no biggie. Actually trading off their Innkeeper by the looks of it. Huh. That's fine by me. We'll block here as well. Combat tricks, not a problem with Drown in the Loch. Put a counter on the Tracker. Well, destroy the Tracker. That's a blowout. Get rid of my artifacts or enchantments. Or not. Alright, well, we didn't draw more removal, but we can opt for it. I think I will go opt first in case we get an Evolving Wilds accidentally. Off of bottoming here. An Overwhelmed Apprentice. So this is a weird one. I think we can afford to go with the island here, because this has to deal actual combat damage to me in order to get rid of Teferi's tutelage. Which I'm gonna guess that it can't, our opponent can't get through all of this. That's a great card. If we can keep the tutelage around, that's a draw 4. I'll get rid of the Overwhelmed Apprentice here, I think. Pass the turn. So they can make a 3/3 if they play down a 4-powered creature here, which is obviously less than ideal, but as long as that intruder doesn't get combat damage through, I'm okay. So yeah, we're just going to chump here. Block here. Got the Drowning lock, which is fantastic. That means our tutelage will live on. I think it was worth the risk there for sure. I'm not going to take the didn't say please, because we're going to be drowning in the lock. Or maybe just going for a Blood Chief's Thirst, honestly. Yeah, I think we'll do that. I don't want to have to block with Ruined Crab, and I'd rather save Drowning lock for something more powerful. So, pass the turn. If they don't play another 4-powered creature, which I'm sure they can muster that ability up somehow, then we've just got a nice free block. I guess we probably don't want to, though, just in case they have another Vastwood Fortification. Oh boy, there's a Sir Farron. They're empty-handed, so nothing to fear. I almost feared it. Righty-ho. Play a land, mill 3, 28 cards. We're over halfway. Our opponent's at a virtual 10 life at this point. When it attacks another target, creature gets +X, where it's Sir Farron's power. That's okay. We do have a mill 8 with the Into the Story. But I kind of feel like it's just kill Sir Farron here. Make this combat only be 2 damage. I'm going to take this. Yeah. I'm going to call their bluff on that one, mostly because I've got this mill 8. Another Horn Beetle. Another mill. And this is where we dig for a power card here. I think we actually want to tap all our blue, because it's much harder for us to draw into swamps than it is for islands, and if we draw a black spell, we'll be sad that we didn't hold that open. These are actually pretty decent cards. Might actually get the Tree Folk countered here with a Disruption, so we're going to take that chance. Mill another 3 off the land drop as well. And yeah, we're just kind of hoping that our opponent has a land into the Tree Folk. We'll counter it, and our opponent will lose. Colossal Majesty. Doesn't want to draw them cards. And that will do it. How many cards do they have left? 13. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. So yeah, that's Blue-Black Mill. It's actually really, really good, I would say, in this format. I think we only dropped 1 game today. There's even a few games that I'm not going to include that were like 30 seconds long that we actually ended up winning as well. I don't usually count those kind of things because, you know, they're over before they've even begun and it's not worth watching. But yeah, we've only lost 1 game today, so definitely worth playing this one in Artisan. It used to be pretty bad, and now it's really good. Who'd have thunk that Ruined Crab would really drive this deck to be as solid as it is, but there you go. Solid stuff. Alright, well, if you did enjoy, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe as well to let me know if you do continue to enjoy the Artisan format. I know I do, so hopefully if you do, you let me know down in the comments below. Let me know what you've been playing as well. I'm kind of curious about the new rotated Artisan format. It seems to have maintained a fair few of the power cards, or power decks, I should say, from the old format. And I guess there's maybe a few that have continued over. We didn't see any blue-white flyers. That used to be a big thing, right? But yeah, it's been pretty decent. Hopefully you've enjoyed. If you have, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.